There we are.
All right.
What's it?
Let's get this show started. What's up, Mike?
How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great actually, despite a lot of crap. But
yeah.
So,
how are you, man? A good audible. I'm doing fine. I'm actually just figuring out. Ben and I were talking ahead of time about what are we going to have, and I'm actually going to take suggestions. I did he mentioned Mirador. I have 2 Miradors, courtesy of a very delightful and lovely Whiskey Ferry in Texas. But I've got a 2020 and a 2021 Mirador. So which one am I going to have?
All right, good people in the chat. It's your call. So John, we got 3 Johns in here tonight.
There's a lot of Johns. Yeah. It's like they're not working tomorrow or something.
It's like we're in the Bible or something. Where's Matthew, Mark, Luke? Anyway. So
Eli's the first one, 20. Eli says, you know what? I'll do both. I have 2 glasses. So let's just do that.
That's what Renita, side by side. All right. So Patrick's son's birthday is today. So he may be joining us later. In spite of that, or in light of that, happy birthday, Gavin. Hope you're having a great one. And
hope you're having a drink with the old man.
There you go. Of apple juice.
That's right.
So tonight's show, we were originally planning to have Marianne Eves on to discuss a lot of her ventures and what all she's involved in. Well, great reputation as a blender, and she's got a lot of projects going on. But their family is in the midst of moving, and so just family life got in the way, and we're rescheduling for a different time. So tonight, you got us, and we're going to ask some whiskey questions and ponder the deeper things of life, and drink some fabulous spirits. So you're pouring the Mirador. There you go.
Yeah, 2020, 2021. Little difference in them.
Okay. I've got Limestone Branch. They have these experimental series that comes out. Yeah. So this one is their red wheat bourbon. It's a 60% white corn, 28% wheat, 12% malted barley, coming in at 98 proof. Barrel char number 3, 23 months age. They're using 15-gallon barrels for these experimental series. So that's what we're going to start with tonight. I
get to sample this experimental rye of theirs that was great. It was really, really good.
Is it the malted rye? 100% malted rye?
Yes.
Okay. I got a taste of that one when I was at the distillery, and I thought it was fabulous. Unfortunately, they didn't have any bottles available, but anyway, I did get to try this one too, and I thought it was pretty good.
So we were talking, calling audible, we have to have a plan, but we were thinking about just going around and we were going to ask each other some questions, and Pat's not here. So we're not going to get any of his freaky answers. So I'll ask you the question that I was going to ask both of you guys. So because I don't know that we've actually covered this. I was trying to think about this, but I don't think we've actually covered it, because I know Pat had brought this up in talking about doing an intro at some point. But what I'm curious is what started you in whiskey as your first serious sip, but not necessarily, doesn't have to be the whiskey. It could have been a thing that started you that make it, it's just like, oh, I'm going to give this thing a shot.
Right. So I think we've talked, I've shared this a little bit with you guys before, and I may have even talked about it a little bit on the show. My serious interest in spirits, for me, I'll trace it back to in my early 20s, getting a serious interest in wine. And it's funny. I was a kid that grew up extremely picky. I was a very picky eater growing up. Uh, you know, I would eat lasagna because it looked like vomit on the plate. Sorry, just couldn't touch it. So there, but I was weird because I love sushi. Anything seafood, give it to me. But other things that normal people would love to eat, I didn't. And that all changed as I got to be a late teenager, early 20s. I was like the average guy, go out party, go tailgating, football games, drink Bud Light, drink Coors Light, whatever. And I had a friend's dad that got me to try a Guinness. And as soon as I tried that Guinness, it was like, the heavens parted, angels sang, whatever. It was like, holy crap, what have I been missing in life? And from there, I started exploring craft beers and going through different stouts and getting into eventually IPAs and whatnot. About that same time, I also had an interest in wine. I've always been interested in, or had been interested in cooking and developing my cooking skills. And it was like within probably 6 months to a year, my palate I went from being very picky to like, I want to try and eat everything. I want to sample everything and just enjoying all kinds of food. Got into wines and learning a lot about wine. And I was able to start picking out notes and breaking down things for that. And that continued for several years. And then it was right after I got married. So I was late 20s, 27, 28. And right after I was married, a friend of mine, we went to Tennessee for a trip. We were doing some family history research for him. And driving back, we saw a sign for Jack Daniel's Distillery, do a tour. And we're like, hey, let's go do it. So we pulled in, took that, I think it was a Saturday, did a tour through there. I was just blown away with the process. I never thought too much into whiskey beyond just get me drunk and, pour me a Crown and Coke or whatever. But I was just enamored with the process and seeing it from start to finish. And then we walked through that rick house and the smell of the angel share. I don't know. It totally captivated me. And I left that place going, I'm going home and I'm getting into whiskey. And so just trying to figure out from there which avenue, what I wanted to do, because I've always been the type of person, if I pick a hobby or if I pick something I get into, I research the hell out of it before I get into it. And so I spent probably weeks kind of reading up on whiskey and different types and, what's the difference between bourbon and Scotch and Irish and everything else. And I decided I'm going the single malt Scotch route. That's going to be my first one to jump in. So reading different reviews that I could find, which back then it was a lot harder than it is now, because you either had to go to the bookstore and buy a book, read something by Michael Jackson or David Broom or one of those guys. There was a couple of Whiskey Advocate had a decent website. I remember looking up some of the early Buffalo Trace websites. They were absolute hot garbage. You couldn't find any kind of information about anything. It was horrible then. So it's just reading some tasting profiles and thinking, okay, this sounds good. So I went and bought a bottle of Glenmorangie 10. And that was my first Scotch. And it was love at first sip. Absolutely enjoyed it. It took me a little bit to get over the alcohol and start to where, like with the wine, where I could start to pick out a few notes. But I bought a bottle of that. And then probably a week later, I decided to just go off the deep end and bought Lafroig 15 year, which was a standard release at the time. Mm-hmm. And again, I remember popping the cork. It's still a vivid memory sitting in my dining room, popping the cork, taking that first whiff and smelling that iodine and the peat and the medicinal notes coming off of that, and just going, oh my God, what have I got myself into? And poured the glass and took a sip. And again, it was just one of those moments where like, oh, this is it. This is absolutely it. And from those two, it was on. Started exploring, further into Scotch, getting into bourbon, Irish and Japanese and everything else to where I am now. It's been, I guess, about a 16-year journey, going on 17 years almost. And, right now my palate and my love is for craft spirits and, the micro distillers and the things people are doing across this country, but still love Scotch, still love everything. Yeah, it's been fantastic. Honestly, looking back then to from the taking that first sip, I never would have thought I would be in this position now and experiencing the things that I have in the last year and a half or so. But here we are. So,
yeah.
What's your story, Mike?
First off, difference between 2020 and 2021 Mirador. It's really interesting because there's chocolate and butterscotch and fruit that I get off of there, but there's a spicier fruit coming off of the 2020, which is a little higher in proof by 3 points, but not enough that I think that would do that. But it's still, but 2021 leans more Irish to me, which I find interesting.
Okay.
Just not that it has, it doesn't taste like Irish. It leans Irish between the two, if that makes any difference on there.
Right.
I know Texas Irish is a thing because I had some at Iron Root, and holy shit, people, is it really good? God, it's good. But yeah, so mine was, because I remember, I had been drinking, not much into just beer, but never really was into butter or anything, but I was getting into, I didn't like craft beer per se, but I liked beer with flavor to it, whether that was craft or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Really like Guinness, love Guinness, still do. Never really got into IPAs or anything, but I started getting more and more into trying different beers and going to the beer stores that had, you make your own 6-pack and do that. It's like, I want to find out, let's get more of these. I want to get more flavors. I want to experience more with it. So my wife was pregnant with my son at the time. So, and he was actually, it was about the time he was almost born. So it was spring of 99. And I had gone to the doctor, and we were going through blood work and everything else like that. And of course, he was looking at your levels, and he was talking, and I didn't drink a lot, which that's of course what an alcoholic would say, but I was not an alcoholic. My wife would not have tolerated that. But he was looking at everything and looking at levels and stuff. And he's just like asking about the beer and the beer that I drank and other alcohols, whatever. I told him the beer. And he's like, well, you should cut out bread, and beer is a bottle of bread. So if you want to have alcohol, you should find another avenue for that. And so then, and he said, he started talking about wine. I'm like, yeah, but if you start with wine, you open the bottle, you gotta kill that bottle, And
Right.
yeah, my wife wasn't going to join me on it because she didn't drink much. And I had whiskey, whiskey and Coke or something, but not,
Right.
Of course, like everybody's had Jack Daniels and everybody's had Wild Turkey, but never really give it a thought because it was always a tool to do something, to lubricate the mind, body, and soul. And so I thought, I'm going to try this and try something different with alcohol. So I remember went to a bar and just went to one that actually had a selection, tried some different things to try to see what I liked. And then I found that I was actually getting the flavors that I never thought I would get out of whiskey because I never paid attention to it. I was getting, multiple layers of stuff, but I wasn't necessarily going for a style. I was just trying to find out what I liked. So I went a few years just trying different things and finding places that I could go and try other stuff. And a couple big things that really opened it up for me. This is now, a couple years after I started not drinking beer. I will do it. My thing, if you make beer, I'll have homemade beer, or I'll have beer on a special occasion, but I just don't drink it. And I can honestly tell the difference that I don't. If I do have it or something carbonated, I feel like hell. And so it was a couple years after the first big epiphany. There was a local guy in the newspaper who's now since passed, Charlie Geisweil. Hope I'm pronouncing it right. And he wrote an article about bourbon. He just wrote about whatever he wanted to write about. And he wrote one about introducing a young coworker to his favorite bourbon, because she was saying she was a bourbon lover. He's like, but have you tried this? Well, and this is around 2001-ish, 2002. The bourbon that he was telling her about was his favorite. which was Pappy Van Winkle. And so I was reading this article at the barber to get my haircut, and the barber would give you whiskey and beer and whatever while you're waiting or while you're getting your haircut and afterwards. So most people just hung out there a really long time. And so a friend of mine was there, and he's like, that stuff sounds good. We should go find it, So of course, we did, and we used to be able to buy it. And Van Winkle 12 was my favorite bourbon for a really long time. But then that actually opened it up to finding, because the way he basically wrote a romance letter to the bourbon, and he was telling her how to slow down and take your time and all the things he was pulling out of it, and he was really passionate, and that made me slow down more when I was trying whiskeys. So I always thanked him for that. But it this now another couple years after that, I never really dabbled into Scotch much, but then I just had a moment where it was, well, here's this Scotch, you should try it. And someone they took the time to explain to me, here's why you should try this Scotch. And I didn't know, didn't really care, didn't strike me, whatever. There's a bottle that somebody had given my brother-in-law, who doesn't drink, the one brother-in-law doesn't drink brown liquors. He's like, oh yeah, go ahead and try it and have as much as you want. Well, it was a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue. so we were sipping it, and I mean, it was good, but it was more interesting because it's not the Scotch that I remember having. And it was just, but the person took the time to explain things about it. They weren't saying what they were getting out of it. They were just explaining things about feelings getting it out of that whiskey. And that struck with me, and it's funny now, I don't really like Johnny Walker Blue. I've had it a couple times since then. I'm like, no, it's not really so much. But that experience opened me up to wanting to go and try a lot of different Scotch and try to get out and really, really pick things apart. Yes, I mean, like you said, it's been a fun journey. Honestly, being Patrick asking, say, hey, you want to come on the show? That was interesting, because it's like, sure, why not? I mean, we were talking about it anyway, but the stuff we've been able to try, and we were talking earlier, just the stuff this last year.
Yeah.
Damn, there's some really, really good stuff out there. And I had an interaction with somebody this weekend who was, it was some Van Winkle things going on. It's like, I get why people want it, but I think most people want it so they can see it behind them on the shelf, or show somebody on the shelf. And we've said this multiple times, I'd rather chase a lot of the stuff that we've had on the show than go and chase after that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I have a few times, just on the Van Winkle thing, I've a few times put the 15-year in a blind flight for somebody and just have them here rank, here's 4, here's 5 bourbons, rank them. Which one do you like best to last? And there's usually a couple of craft. There's just some standard Kentucky bourbons thrown in. The Van Winkle usually finishes middle of the pack to tail end almost every time. And to me, that's very telltale of, okay, there's a lot of people hyping this up, and not saying that it's not good whiskey. It is really good whiskey. Okay. But there's so much more available out there that's actually probably better and better suited to your palate. If that's what you love, that's your favorite thing, fine. Don't get offended at me. That's my opinion. And that's what shows like this are about, opinions. And that's all we are. But that's, the experience I've had with it, that's what's come to pass. So yeah, it has been, it's like we said, it's been an amazing journey. And part of that for me was I spent so long, and maybe it's just being clueless internet wise, but I spent a long time here having just a couple of close friends that would share my passion for whiskey. Most everybody else was like, oh, you drink whiskey? You drink it neat? What? You a weirdo? You an alcoholic?
They give you that look.
Yeah. You get that look, kind of. Well, that look, but
yeah,
but
too well.
Anyway, it took me forever to realize there was this huge community of people that were just as passionate about this as I was, and that happened probably over 2 years ago. Going on 3 years ago, I discovered the whole whiskey vault, the whiskey tribe, all of that. Through that, connected with a lot of people really quickly and discovered that, holy crap, there's a lot of people that care a lot about this, way more than I thought. And, I'd say that's kind of the avenue that I met you and Patrick through for the most part, because that opened me up to other YouTubers and whiskey reviewers and whatnot. And, here we are. So,
yeah.
And then I've got two of the guys in the chat tonight, John and Eli, are coming over tomorrow to sample whiskeys. Guys that I never would have known outside of that avenue. So
nice. It's Scotch Test Dummies was the first show. I mean, I saw Ralphie and other random ones just trying to find a review, but they were the first ones that I saw that made me start keeping a list of things to look out for. Because they were going pretty quick and how they were putting it out, and they were getting things that weren't hard to get necessarily. So I had started my list. I'm like, all right, and I had it, my list by state and things that I look for, where to get it, and I started going, have my wish list, and then, when I saw Whiskey Vault, it was overwhelming looking at the amount that they've got, to deal with. Right. But at the same time, just their the stuff that they got in, because they weren't really reviewing it, and they weren't, it's like they were tasting it and just giving impressions about it, which I like, because then it's but like, with the dummies, I between the two of them, I lean more towards Scott's palate a little bit. I mean, I really like Pete, but besides that, I kind of lean more towards his. So it's kind of nice, he's like, oh, he's going nut. All right, there's a 75% chance or greater I'm really going to like this, so we jump in. Well, look who he is.
What's going on, everyone? How you doing?
Good. You're
the
in time to start answering questions, man.
Well, he had to put people to bed, and then I still gave up on that. And there was a and there was a birthday today, so it was I think someone's amped up from the party yesterday and all the sugar. I don't think that's gone through his system. It was like twice when we were eating, I swear I saw like crack addict, like just the eyes jitter and his body shakes for a second. I was like, I've seen that. I've had that. Well, I think everyone's has done remember the giant pixie sticks, and those affect people. I don't care who you are.
They affect everybody around you,
maybe permanently. Yes.
All right, so where were you guys, and what have you drank so far?
I had 2020 and 2021 Mirador, and I'm about to ask for another suggestion. But one thing I do want to say, because there's this weird person in the chat named Bourbon Turntable.
I was just going to bring him up because we were his first subscriber just now.
That's right.
We were number one. So don't forget that. Go be number 2 through fucking 1,000. Get on it. No, Mike can explain it.
Yeah. Ben, if Ben would talk about Bourbon Turntable and tell people what's going on with that.
Right. So I'm not leaving my whiskey den, but I've got another show that's going to be going on. You guys have probably seen Kevin Rose that we've had on here before. You often see him as Four Roses in the chat. He has organized and getting together a new show. We're going to be doing YouTube, podcast, whatnot. It's called The Bourbon Turntable. And we have another friend of ours, Drew Crawley, is joining us. Drew is a musician. And basically what we've got is you got 3 generations that are going to be discussing music and whiskey and how those things kind of come together. And, usually for a lot of us, if you're drinking whiskey, you're often enjoying music along with it. And so we're going to kind of be bringing the two together, discussing artists, albums, songs from different decades, different genres. We're going to be tackling a lot of good things. We'll be having guests on the show, hopefully from both sides of the aisle, if you will. But I think it's just going to be a really fun fusion of whiskey and music and having a great discussion about both. So look for that. We're launching the first show will be September 8th, and that'll be on YouTube. Bourbon Turntable. Go find us. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Like, subscribe, follow. and look forward to seeing you there with us.
Hey, however we did this, I might have to be late again. Facebook is listening. Like I reloaded,
Wow.
I reloaded it not like at maybe 6 o'clock, but I mean, hey, it's working. I'm glad to see it. And you guys must have been talking stuff. John was saying, why did that not play? John was saying he found us through Terracotta review. That was our big ass Texas stream. I think that's what's hidden, hidden somewhere in there. Which
I think those were 2 samples you sent us, Mike. Is that right?
Yeah, and I've been able to replace one of those that I never thought I'd get to replace. I lucked into it.
Ooh,
those are a couple of really good barrel picks. I enjoyed
they're
those
very unique and interesting. That's the thing that jumps out to me the most, how unique and different they are and good. Yeah.
Yes. So Pat, I did the first question. Which is we're not going to repeat what we said.
That's fine, but what was the question?
So the question is, I don't know what started you in whiskey that made you do that. Your first serious sip, not necessarily the whiskey. It could have been a thing, a person, an event, or whatever that made you start your first serious sip and then move on from there. And while he's thinking, in the chat, give me suggestions. I'm taking suggestions. What's my next pour? You can look me up and just tell me.
Well, the simple one, the simple one, and I like how you phrased that, would have been going to like the Four Roses single barrel. When I started having that I got a bottle instead of Jack Daniels because my buddy Ryan and I would go out to shows and do stuff and hang out, and he always just like, let's do some Jack before a show. And it's like, well, you're going to a show, no need to get all fancy, you know. You're bound to get a little buzzed up and you know, a little off kilter at the show. So I remember like it was some show. I think it was the Squirt Gun 20-year anniversary show, and he was nicknamed after the band. So I think I got like a bottle of Four Roses single barrel, and we were like, that's the special whiskey we have before we go. Or, you know, like if it's a good night, you have like 1 or 2 shots of that, and then you switch over to whatever else is there. But as far as like actually sit back and reflect on it, like one that made me like pause for a second. Ooh, I'm gonna. Wow.
All right, while you're thinking about that for a second,
drink first. That one.
Pour a drink. Yeah. Pour a drink. While you're doing that, I'm gonna get ready to pour my second one. But I want to tell everybody quickly just this limestone branch, the red wheat that I'm having. Cinnamon bread with raisins is kind of a big note that I get off of this. It's a rich dark cinnamon note. It's a big bready note like you typically would expect from wheat, but this has got a lot more complexity going on to it than a typical wheated bourbon. And there's a dark fruit element to it, and the finish just goes on. The cinnamon and cardamom and ginger with that kind of that sweet raisin note. It's fantastic. If you're around Kentucky and you can stop in at Limestone Branch, number one, the tour is fantastic. Stephen Fonte is amazing as their ambassador. And we will be having both he and Stephen Beam on the show coming up very soon.
Steve.
Yep, you're not going to want to miss that. But great distillery. They're doing some great stuff. But that experimental bottle, that's fantastic. So I'm getting ready to break open now. I've got a Wilderness Trail 6-year-old bottled in bond bourbon. Give this one a try.
All right, I got it because there was a bit of time. What I got? Hold on, let me get the other thing out first before I forget. The other whiskey that I first like sat back and reflected on, or like had like a real impact, was at my old job where maybe we may have watched a few Whiskey Tribe reviews, or the Whiskey Vault reviews, and may have done a few tastings, maybe with just us, maybe with some customers. But I know one that like left a really big impression because it was early on, was Talisker Storm. because I had a hard time finding the 10, but the Storm was like $20 at the store at that time, or like 25. And it had such like rich campfire intensity on me, like right away. And like I could feel it like exhaling through my nose. Like I'd almost had like a cigarette, or no, like you feel that campfire just like going through you. And it was like that salty, briny, it was all sorts of like surprised and like ashy, like leftover in your mouth. You're like, I'm really enjoying this. I'm like, and I know I sat back and I think I may have had one or two while I was at my old job that day, because I remember I got home and Sherry's like, what the hell? And I'm like, what? Like, we just had a couple of drinks. She's like, you smell like a campfire. I'm like, like that. And it was just like, it's like a dragon, goddamn it. That was one of the first ones that made me like stop and like, because I think later that night I sat down with it and really like, kind of tried to deconstruct the flavors that were going on. And I was just so excited by its intensity. Like I'm like, wow, this is overwhelming. And I like it, because the first time I had Lafroig 10, it reminded me of like a 1930s hospital that was all that old antiseptic-y cleaning stuff, but you were still allowed to smoke in your rooms. Because you had the doctors were still allowed to smoke while they were operating on you.
Yeah, while they're doing open heart surgery.
Right.
That was kind of the smell I got from that. So I didn't really like Lafroig 10 right away, but the Talisker Storm was the first like smoky, peaty Scotch that I was like, okay, damn, I can get on board with this. And I still enjoy it to this day, and get angry now that it's like $50 a bottle, to be frankly honest. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
All right.
What were your answers? Just short, abrupt ones, so I know what it was.
Fireball.
What?
You choked him out.
In a good way, in a bad way?
No, hold on. I'm making idea. I'm doing a dump glass so I can have a little bit of it. I need my third suggestion, so people got to tell me what I'm having here.
Hold on. If you're doing suggestions for Mike, let me make it big so people can see what the hell's behind you.
That's what she said.
Yeah, well. You know what? We'll just go full screen. What do you see there? I see a single cask. Let's go to the bottom shelf. Oh, there's a top shelf. Oh, he's going way to the top.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm looking at your top. Is your top shelf inverted? Like maybe the not.
This is Mike just showing
stuff?
off right now.
Yeah,
no.
He said, "Look at this," and now he's like, "I'm happy to flash."
Scotches are over there.
He's trying to make it educational.
Yeah.
I suddenly feel like I'm at a 70s drive-in. Late night.
You know what? Let's curveball you. The Glendronach 12.
Boy.
Really? All right.
Sorry, I just see it. I see some on the bottom shelf, and I don't feel like. I don't know. That's. Yeah.
Oh,
Or here, what bourbon turntable?
Okay. Yeah.
The Deer Hammer or the single cast?
Deer
What
Hammer.
single cast nation?
Yeah. There's like 18 of them.
This single cast nation?
I can go get that box of 8 of them. 12. How many ever we have that night? There's
I think that's the one.
nation
Yeah,
night.
that's kind of the one you can see the best. So I assume that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's what
This
he's
is
saying.
actually a Balcones single barrel. So we're going 3 Texas in a row. It's all good. A 4-year-old Balcones.
We were all
barrel.
Texas files when we started the show.
Yeah.
I say we were all Texas whiskey files when we started the show, so still are.
Well, it's all of their fault for
We're not
most of
complaining
them
about that.
making good whiskey.
Yeah,
And
no kidding.
It
And
coincided
most of them
with,
making good, affordable whiskey.
I was gonna say it coincides with like this growth and expansion, and like right as it hit it, like started hitting age of like the 2 to the 4-year-old stuff when everyone started getting on board, and that would be another one when
Yeah,
Icarus.
John Gunsel. Balcones.
I will say this: it was Iron Root that started me down the whole craft whiskey trail. Pretty much.
I was going to say
that's
Icarus would have been
that launched
the other
me.
one.
That was another one. I'll say it anytime somebody asks, because I like to give them props. Scotch Test Dummies were the ones that told me about Iron Root, because they had went to the Bastard's Ball, and they came back and that they were oh yeah, this and this, and they're like, that Iron Root, and they kept going on. It's like, well, I gotta try it.
Right.
And took forever to be able to try it, but holy hell.
That's for me. It was, well, not them, but it was with the Whiskey Tribe. When they did, Rex and Daniel did a show out at Iron Root, did an episode there. And that was my first exposure to it. And I'm thinking, this sounds so interesting and amazing. And I quickly get online and I start looking up, and it's like, oh, Total Wine, we have it here. I went like that day and bought a bottle. And then I think, the Gallaudets, when they were doing, they had their show, they did something out at Iron Root not long after that too. And so seeing both of those and then picking up the bottle and first sip, and I'm like, oh my God, this is, again, it was just one of those revelatory whiskey experiences. Like, this is something so unique, so different, and so good. Where have you been all my life? And that kind of launched it. I was hooked on Texas whiskeys from that point. And then that just started me like, okay, if Texas craft is this good, what else am I missing out on? And that's about the time I connected with you guys. And then this whole thing just takes off from there. But
yeah, I know Icarus was definitely one that turned in my head and made me slow down and think. But since I don't know if there's a theme, but what I'm starting with is the J. Henry and Sons 2019 anniversary blend. That's 63.28%, and this is all. There's just one little like tidbit left of this, but they're a little local one from Wisconsin that I really enjoy. Their anniversary.
Just a little local one, yeah.
Little local one. Some of them are getting kind of beefy around here. Like I have to start looking at barrel production between. There's some people putting down some serious barrels in Wisconsin.
I was talking before the show to Ben, because I did some samples exchanged hands, but another Wisconsinite up there, Miss Adina, sent me the J. Henry Patton Road Reserve Cask Strength. I found that to be quite enjoyable.
All right.
Ooh, and they have a cognac cask. Is it either cognac or Armagnac cask finish?
I think there's
the cognac.
There's a cognac cask.
The Bellefontaine or Belle Fountain, however you want to say it.
No. Well, then there's an Armagnac one that's coming out because there was a new label for it.
You're right. I saw that label. Yep. That's right.
And I was like, ooh,
yeah.
Keep me in mind, because I know Nancy's going to pick a damn good Armagnac to finish in.
You better know it.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, Ben, what? I guess what do you have a question yet?
Sure, I do have a question. I'm going to break down this Wilderness Trail real quick too. If you are a fan of Eagle Rare, that's kind of what the profile of this is. It's got that big kind of cherry cola note going on, some nice oak, a little bit of spice, but it's in that, definitely got the cherry notes going strong on this one. It reminds me of Eagle Rare, although I would say I like this better than Eagle Rare. Which for me these days isn't saying a whole lot, but I think Eagle Rare is good, but I just, the pedestal I put it on many, many years ago, that has fallen far, especially after all the things we have, as Mike and I talked about, the things we have sampled and tried the last 2 years, especially just this year alone. Some of the whiskeys I used to hold in high esteem, I've gone back to them like Eagle Rare, and it's like, meh, it's good, but
yeah,
there's Leopold Brothers, there's Spirits of French Lick, there's J. Henry, there's Iron Root, there's all these other just amazing whiskeys that are, to me, just they don't even hold a candle to anymore. So my question for you guys, wax. Let's see. Let's think in future terms here. So. What's the matter with future terms, Patrick?
I wasn't relaxed enough and done like into my relaxed zone yet. So I need to shake it off.
Shake it off.
Ooh,
Shake it off.
Get
there.
good snap.
So last night we had this amazing privilege of getting to sit in on a Zoom call with Todd Leopold and taste his 3-chamber rye and listen to him and Alan Bishop spin tales on distilling and especially Todd talking about process and just all the things that they're doing, some of the stuff with the 3-chamber, and it's remarkable. That whiskey is absolutely amazing. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard for me to put it. It's hard for me to kind of categorize it. I told that to him last night, but right now he's really the only guy currently running the 3-chamber still in the country. Is this going to be do we see this as the next wave of where whiskey is going? And I'm looking at is potentially, we've been on this huge bubble of bourbon and whiskey for a while now. And some people talk about it busting, but is possibly the advent of the 3-chamber coming back since Prohibition? Does that help sustain that bubble to a degree? Also, is this kind of the next wave that you see the next generation of distillers jumping on? Are we going to see more of the 3-chamber popping up across the country, because it opens up flavor profiles that are just untouchable by a column still or a pot still. But it's so unique and different.
But it can still have
expensive and it's hard to run.
I was gonna say a beefy price tag on something of a larger scale, which will cause some people to stay away. Oh, sorry, Mike. Do you want to go first? I didn't mean to jump in the front there. Sorry.
No, you're fine. John asked a question. Does anyone else have a 3-chamber still? The one thing we heard was, and Kevin might know this also. I heard that there's one in Kentucky. That's why I don't know if that's true or not. And we know MGP has one that's in pieces because they took it apart because they're, and nobody, they're using parts of it for something else. Right. There's 3-chamber being used at, I cannot remember which rum distillery, but it's in operation running at a rum distillery. But we talked a little bit ahead of time. And the thing is, if people decide they want to do this, Todd's 5 to 7 years ahead of everybody else because he already has it running and he knows how to run it and he knows the tricks about it. So if somebody else is going to get one, he's going to be, he's our resident expert. But he has addressed anytime I've seen him since it's been released and more people are talking with him. He will answer the question when people ask about price, and more than one person brought up price last night when we're talking with him. But as he said, that the rye costs, just the rye it costs 3 times as much as any other rye. Number one, the starch is really low. You're using a lot more rye. There's no guarantee on the crops because this is such a unique thing. So there's not, if the crops go bad, something happens, you're screwed. You're not just going to go get the rye. You're not just going to go get rye from somewhere else. So there's a lot of cost built in just the grain alone, not to mention the fact that it is not an efficient still as far as volume. He said he can get 2 barrels a day off of this thing. So, there's all those things that factor into this, aside from the fact that they know they laid this stuff down in limited quantity 5 years ago. And it will get cheaper as it goes, but don't just take like what I say. Really don't ever take what I say because that's just bad. But there's lots of people who've tried it who have had pre-prohibition whiskey and are like, this is pre-prohibition whiskey. So, look at this as go try to find a bottle of pre-prohibition whiskey and see how much you're going to pay for it. And then you're taking a chance on, is it any good because maybe it went bad or something. This is a style that has not been seen for 100 years. And I think more people will see people that when they try it are going to get what it's about. I agree that the majority of people will want to do the wait and see, let the price drop. And Todd has even said that too. He's like, it's going to get cheaper. He's honest about it. He's not trying to screw anybody. He's 100% honest about it. He's like, this is what the cost is for doing it right now, but it's going to get cheaper, as we go. I think more people will do it. And I think there's a very large distillery in Kentucky that would probably be the first that's building their own craft distillery. And I would guess that they would be the first ones to put one in because they have the capital to do it.
They do. There is, after we did our first interview with Todd, I know there was at least 2 other places that had planned on putting 3 chambers in, but were not fully operational at the moment. But they were planning on it, and it actually was, they had the location, they just didn't have the stills up or in. But that was the plan. And when they get to them, I told them, like, once you get operational, hence we can taste something you're putting out, no matter what it is, and we don't want to tell people to show up and you're closed. That's never fun. Right. At that point, we take a look and, and have them on and stuff. So I know there's a couple of them out there that are in the works or being done, but I'm not going to say that, I haven't seen that come up or that distillery come to fruition yet. So it's not, that I don't know how viable it is, because it's just hard to get things started amongst everything in the last, year and a half. So,
yeah, I think that's what Mike and I talked a little bit beforehand. And I think Dave in his comments says, I don't see anyone except the likes of Todd popping up the 3-chamber, not for a long time. And I tend to agree with that for the most part. That's why I said it's potentially, this is something the next generation of distillers picks up on. It's not going to be within the next even 5 to 10 years that you start seeing multiple, but I think it presents too unique a profile, and it's a whole different avenue of exploring distilling and whiskey for people to just ignore it and Todd be the only one doing it for the most part. So, but I think, like we said, on the level of the big distillers, probably not, because it does not produce the volume that they need. But I see this on the micro or the craft distiller level, where people eventually are going to start picking up on this, and you're going to have a few more of these pop up. How many? I don't know, but I just can't see that Todd is the only one really ever doing that. There's going to be more, because like I said, it presents too much of a unique opportunity to carve yourself a niche in this whole industry. So
in the next, like, say 5 to 7 years, I bet you see at least 10 more across
in the next 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see them go up. I don't
mark the tape.
Yep. That's right. That's it.
We'll come back in 5 to 7 years. No.
What's the bet?
A bottle of Todd's 3-chamber.
of the original release.
The original, not the lower cost. All right. I need another suggestion.
Work on suggestions for him, people in the chat.
Yeah. What is everybody else out there drinking tonight? I've seen a few people mention, but what are you guys sipping on?
And the other thing with Ben's question, I do see the wave, but I see if you're a bigger distillery and you were all worried about, but you're willing to do it as like an experimental thing, I think the quality of your blended, like a rye, or blending that into your normal rye could really, that just like a small percentage of that could take someone's iffy rye and really torque it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like maybe as a blending component, not as like a full all out like release. And that could really change some stuff if you were, if you're using that as not necessarily a base, but a decent, 5% in a blend, maybe 10. I think it could have a decent effect on it.
Well, talking about pre-prohibition, and I think Kevin may have touched on this topic at one point in a conversation, but do we see brandy making a comeback in this country, spirits wise? I think we're seeing an interest stir in cognac and Armagnac. Does that start to spin over to people looking on the domestic side of things and saying, where's some good craft American brandies? And does the 3-chamber still have a role to play in that at some point down the road?
That party never ended here, buddy. We suck up like 2/3 of the nation's brandy. So
right. Yeah, for the rest of us since Prohibition, we've almost forgotten about it. But it's like Yeah, I'm watching. Catoctin Creek is doing their thing with brandy. Copper and Kings obviously has had the brandy game going for a while. Allen's doing the apple brandy. They're at Spirits of French Lick, which is fantastic. You've got Highwire down in Charleston. They did a watermelon brandy and they did a peach brandy recently. And so they're continuing to explore that route. It's very traditional pre-prohibition. There was probably way more brandy than there was whiskey to a degree. I may be saying something wrong there, but some of the things I've read have indicated potentially, brandy was huge in this country before prohibition.
It was much easier. It was much easier to make. You could use
Right.
any number of fruits or number of crops to make it. Where I don't know, it's
And when you're
much more open and available.
And when you're dealing with a lot of farm distillers, which was pre-prohibition, you're using what you're growing, which, like where I live around here, peaches are a huge deal. Peach orchards are everywhere, all over the countryside. And you get in the mountains and it's apples. And so there's plenty of fruit to deal with. But do we potentially, does that help pave the way towards a resurgence in brandy? So just waxing whiskey philosophical here tonight, but
I think if people are also looking at it from the standpoint of if you get more farmer distillers or more people thinking about waste and sustainability, that would be a good reason for people to get into doing brandy.
Right.
Because what are we going to do with this? Let's put it to good use. Or when we had Fred on, and he was talking about their idea they kicked out for brandy. It's like, oh, that's a hell of an idea. Because then you're not dealing with all the fruit and stuff. Doing West Cork peated charred Irish.
Ooh,
that could go well in the blend.
Here's taking a left turn for you.
Not bad. I'll be right back in a minute. Hold on.
Okay. So I just went into, speaking of Allen and French Lick, William Dalton, their wheated bourbon. 70% corn, 20% wheat, 10% malt. It's a single barrel coming in at 107.9 proof. And this one was a special barrel. They put in some French oak staves, I believe, on this one. And so kind of playing that maker's mark game a little bit, but probably what I have had of this better. It's pretty amazing. So going into it now.
Okay. I'm waiting. I've got a bottle on somebody else's shelf.
I think he had to build a whole new cabinet for you. Bottles he's holding.
It's ridiculous. But I'm waiting because I still got my original French Lick Weeder, and I've been saving that specifically because I know the William Dalton isn't the evolution of the Weeder.
Right.
It is the Weeder as it was intended, and the Weeder, which I thought Weeder was fine, but it was a placeholder whiskey,
right? Just
so they had one,
right? No, it was. I think that for me, that was the very first whiskey I tasted from Allen that they had. They had considered placeholder, but it was unique enough, and I really enjoyed that one, and that kind of set the course for that whole grain forward profile and style. And that's what you get in this, but there's a lot going on here. Some really nice tannins that come across. It's a little bit unique, but
I haven't had this West Cork in a while. Granted, I have had some proof leading up to this, but
right.
There's the Irish fruitiness behind it, but it also first hit on the palate. Flat Ardbeg 10.
Oh,
which is not necessarily a bad thing,
right?
It's just kind of like you've had something like when you had drank pop and the carbonation was gone or something. Hey, Callie,
gotta get her face on the screen. Nice. The Dalton. If you ever want to describe a whiskey as just rich and luxurious, that's a prime definition for the Dalton because the flavors are rich. Just a lot of cinnamon, a lot of spice, a lot of baking spice notes. This one's gorgeous. I could stop here for the night.
We still got time.
Yeah. And I still got another bottle sitting over here. Actually, I got a lot of bottles sitting around. What am I talking about?
Don't quit now. All right. You have some water, and
I'm not a quitter.
I ain't no quitter. Oh, there's Mr. Licorice. We were just kissing your ass earlier. You missed it. Love that iron root.
You guys,
sincerely.
I mean, y'all been good friends, but y'all turned me down this whole craft whiskey trail, Robert, and kudos for that. And your Harbinger is my number one bourbon. Nothing has knocked that off the pedestal yet so far. So, and as a matter of fact, I have got a road trip in the plans. You guys will be hearing more about this because I'll probably be doing some videos and outtakes from that. But I'll be heading your way, Robert, here at the end of August, 1st of September. So looking forward to seeing you guys.
All right.
What's next?
You know what? I'm going to grab stuff I got over here on my left. And the first one that I got here on my left, ooh, this will be a good one. The Chattanooga Tequila barrel finish.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Chattanooga, if you have not checked out anything from Chattanooga, you need to do it.
Yes.
Because for me personally, Patrick may disagree a little bit. For me personally, everything I have had from them has been absolutely fantastic. I love that high malt.
Okay. Except for
one.
I love that high malt profile. I love that high malt profile.
I do too.
And their rye, I'm going to grab this bottle real quick because I have waxed. I keep saying that word. Stop it. Anyway, I have gone on poetically about Leopold, about his rye, and it's amazing. The closest thing I've had flavor profile to that is this. The Chattanooga's rye, their straight rye malt whiskey. There's some real floral and just some gorgeous rich notes in there that kind of put me in mind of the Leopold style a little bit. So I can't recommend them enough. So
that's fine.
Are you going Chattanooga, Patrick?
No, I wasn't. I already had. I just that one bottle I've had I was not very pleasant. Just like that old elk, the straight wheat I had, not a pleasant experience. Other things from them I've liked. It's not like I'm kicking the doors down on everything they do. No, I'm having a Maker's Mark that's got the finished staves in it. Is where I'm going with it.
Okay.
So what we got in here? We got on this one. We got a baked American Pure. 2 seared French, 2 Maker's Mark 46, 2 roasted French mocha, and 3 toasted French spice. And I really like what happened in this one, so that's why I went to this one.
Cool. I'd love to be. I need to pull out my makers like that and AB with the William Dalton that I just had because same principles, got the French oak staves finishing in there, and it's really good. I'm going with the High Wires. Jimmy Red Bourbon finished in their peach brandy casks for now. And
okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that had some heat on it at the end. Well, it's got more barrel note than what we usually have. And I'm maybe I had a bit too much, but whatever. Maybe. So my question is, we were saying American single malt is kind of be the next big thing the last year or so. When people ask, because rye has already hit, and I think American single malt is starting to catch its legs more so as they go on. Other than that, what do you think one of the next big things is coming on. Can't jump on the 3-chamber rye or 3-chamber still. That's blocked. It's blocked. It's blocked. You can't go there. Just because we already talked about it, so you can't go there. But like, what's something else that you had that you think is interesting or is headed in that direction? Like, what do you think the next big thing is? Like, if you think it's brandy, I don't care. I mean, what do you? I didn't. As I say it, the man himself says it. So, go ahead.
Is that the conversation that drew you in, Robert? Because we were just talking up brandy here several minutes ago. And is that going to be the next? Does it make a big comeback? Is that kind of what's next and associated with the 3-chamber still, whatnot? That's honestly that's a legit, really good question, Pat. It's like you said, for the last year or so, last year and a half, I've been talking up American single malt for a while, and I still believe we haven't even begun to see the crest of that wave, so to speak. I think there's a lot of potential left out there to explore in that arena. So the next thing, I don't know, I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit. Brandy could be, because like I said, the interest in Armagnac and cognac has really begun to swing, and I think all that's going to do is start to drive people to looking for a domestic source, saying, okay, where's the American version? Where's the craft version of this? So, and Robert's saying exactly.
I do. I was gonna say, Robert's lobbying. He's lobbying.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I mean, he's an insider.
Yeah. He's marketing his own stuff, right?
That's right.
Yeah. No, I agree with that though, Robert. That's why I kind of think maybe that's where things are going, but we'll see.
I hope it is. I would. What I think. I think the next big thing in the United States, to me, would be American style as a category or as categories. Tim had mentioned American agave, but think of American brandies or American whiskeys. Some of that out of necessity with what people are going to have to do with barrels, or what they're going to do with barrels, because they could get a better price on a used barrel versus getting a brand new barrel, or using them multiple times. I think if you could get, as American single malt is not a designated category yet, but if it opened the doors to make American style, I think that would be, I think that would inspire other people to do things. Like we had Glens Creek on saying they were making their agave, but but you can't call it that, but you can't. I mean, you couldn't probably legally call it American Armagnac, but you could come up with,
a different designation.
American brandy with regions, so it's like, well, this is, whatever you want to call it. So,
even if you're doing brandies, you could do regions, but even just by flavor is enough to, distinguish quite a bit.
We've seen barrel finishing just go crazy the last several years and stuff being released. They're finishing in just about everything. So I think you're going to start to that's going to start to run out. At some point, it's like there's only so many different varieties of spirits and wines and beers and whatnot that you can find barrels for to finish in that hasn't already to some degree hasn't already been done. Robert brought up rum, which is interesting. He said rum has a shot. My personal opinion, I think we're starting to, we're seeing, I will say there's a bit of a revival on craft rum here in the States. We typically think of rum as being, Caribbean, Bahamas, that whole area. But we've talked about Privateer. There's Richland down in Georgia that's making fantastic rum. There's a lot of places that are doing there's some good rums coming out of Texas, which, as a matter of fact, Robert, you guys seen a friend of mine, AJ, and so he's talked about some of the rums down there. I kind of feel like we're close to seeing the crest of that wave, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong. So I don't think that's going to be it. But
I think
the American style, that's an interesting concept, though.
That is, because I would say rums in general. I think problem is like you said, you're gonna have to like crest or break the wave when you're down, and it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell where that shift is necessarily going to go for sure. I don't know. That's interesting. I like the American style, but then you have to have a designation of categories. And like John was saying, Daniel mentioned earlier today, there was some progression of definition of American single malt. I know we were talking with Colin, or when I was talking with Colin Keegan, like about a month or so ago, he said there was he thought maybe by the end of the year that might be taken care of.
Yeah.
So, or maybe he didn't say that. I didn't hear anything about that.
Well, speaking of barrel finishing, that Chattanooga tequila barrel finished. I've liked everything I've had of theirs. Their finished stuff, their experimental series,
right?
Every single thing has just been a very fun experience, from the apricot brandy finish to port to the tequila. And there's one other one that I've got along with the high malt. They're doing something right. They're scratching an itch for me. I can tell you that.
That's this Jimmy Red with the peach brandy cask finish. That one too. It's exceptional. The bourbon is still there. It strikes a nice balance between the bourbon and the peach, without being overly sweetened or what you would think is style whiskey. It's still got a lot of earthiness to it. So it becomes just it's just really nice, really pleasant.
Kevin brings up a good question though about, and I feel this way too sometimes with the finishing, is if you know you're getting it from a quality source in the first place and then they finished, you'd probably know it's going to be you're enhancing what's there. But we've all had stuff that you can tell the finish was used to cover up what was there. Like you could still tell the tail ends of what was there is like, ooh, good for you for trying to save things, but what happened in the first place?
Speaking of brandy though, and in the conversation with Todd, I think some of the styles that he's going after is, we tend to think of brandy as the barrel aged grape spirit, but there's a lot of unaged styles, especially coming out, European, Germany, France, Switzerland, wherever, the like Kirsch, like Obschler, like Williams, which is a pear brandy. They're unaged brandies. And I'm wondering if this is perhaps where we start to go with this in pursuing brandy, not just the barrel aged stuff. And I think there's a lot of room for exploration here, but in seeing a bit of an exploration or revival of unaged styles, because that's a little bit of what Todd talked about last night as well, with the peach that he's doing. So
and those are a quicker turnaround as well too. As far as that stuff almost fits into the the vodka gin category, as what can we sell that's coming out now, but is it's seasonal, and I would keep it seasonal too. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is the apple stuff because we just like fall would be fantastic around here. Like
quicker turnaround, but it's not like you're just quicker turnaround, but it's not like you're just shitting out gin and vodka.
No, but
exactly.
You're making a very quality spirit that doesn't have to be aged.
Which I think
is different. It's not just shitting out gin and vodka all the time.
Yeah.
It's not barrel aged. You're right, Patrick. I was going to say it's not aged in a barrel, but it could be sitting in a stainless steel tank or something like that, and they're holding it for 12 months or so, letting some oxidation and stuff take place, just not with wood contact.
Well, hell, even if you did, I'm just saying, if you're a distillery, maybe bullshit. Like if we had a distillery, there wouldn't be some that ended up in in a barrel or two at the let's fill these two and kick them off to the side. Now let's go on with the project.
Right.
Yeah. Kevin, damn it, Kevin, you and your valid points. But he brought up Buzzard's Roost, which, not because Jason was on the show, but because it's really freaking good whiskey. And the idea of, okay, well, what can you do with the source whiskey to make it unique? Well, I'm going to have my own barrel profiles, the barrel finishing profiles that Independent Stave's going to do. So he is doing something that is unique that with that, but him taking a sourced whiskey from MGP that is the same as other whiskey you're going to find on the shelf,
Right.
but doing it at younger ages too, but doing a barrel, his barrel profiles on there, coming up with some really, really good whiskey. Like straight up delicious whiskey. And that people doing that, now not everyone's going to be able to have their own barrel profile, but if people figure out, well, what can I, how can I finish it? Maybe, I know, High West did it with blending, but if you do something different, unique, I can source and I can do this and I can come up with something that's unique.
Well, and I like that better than, and even some of the, basically think of it as like a name brand thing. There's all these, famous people or famous groups that are releasing their whiskey, but, what are you doing to make it special? I'm like, if you're just entering the market to slap a label on it, well, whatever. I mean, in my mind, people will figure that out right away. But if you're trying to actually create something, which I hope a lot of people, if you're going to spend the time and money to get involved, try to create something unique and original, and try to make your mark. Even if you only say, what was it? Crouch Distilling. You're around for a couple of years, you put something out, but there's a bunch of people that remember how damn good that was. I just saw someone post something about the single malt or that they had, and I'm like, you made a mark. People remember what you did, and I mean, if I was on a shot and it whatever happened and it closed for whatever reason, and if people, you went out and you heard people talking about it, I'd be like, yeah, all right, like it was not all for naught,
I still don't, as far as trends go, I still don't think we've seen the end of blending.
No.
So we're seeing some, fantastic stuff, whether it be Bardstown Bourbon or Penelope, some of these others that are sourcing bottles and they're blending and creating. Some of them are creating some really fantastic stuff. I think we're just scratching the surface on that too, honestly. So that could be, there's a lot of these premium sources, like we discussed today. Amongst us, the whole Peyton Manning, the Sweetens Cove thing, these premium sourced brands, that there's some blending going on there, but there's, I think we haven't even begun to scratch the surface well with that either. So
yeah, but then that falls into another category where, yes, you bought a bunch of barrels and some of them are expensive and you put together this thing, but hold on here. What's the name of the damn thing, Ben?
Sweetens Cove. I mean, that would have been one of the discussions we'd be having with Mary Ann tonight if she was able to make it on, but because she was involved in that project.
But and I don't know the breakdown of what's in Sweetens Cove, but let's talk about someone who has been on, Nancy. Yeah. And one blend in particular, I mean, the stuff from Murray Hill, but the Joseph Magnus.
Yeah.
With the whiskeys that she is able to pull from to use to source on there, is Joseph Magnus, like just that one alone, is that $100 bottle of whiskey? I say yes. It's not it's not 120 proof, no, but it is a fantastic, beautiful whiskey, and I think it's absolutely worth it. But she's able to pull from stocks that a lot of other people aren't going to get. And do things with them. So then that's when you command the price. So I don't know what's in Sweetens Cove, but
as well as just the skill of the blender, because that's what we've talked about on the show before. We focus a lot on the distiller, and with craft distilling and artisan distilling, just the unique thing these people are doing, but there is an equal skill in blending that is some people absolutely have it and some people just don't. And, you see where, working these batches together to create, what they're bottling or creating these special blends. And like Nancy is just doing absolutely incredible work. So,
Hey, Robert just mentioned something. And
Pisco.
I've had a lot of Pisco, and it's a lot of fun. And if you haven't had a Pisco sour, you should get into it. At least one.
Talking about Pisco, is that not the style or the base I think Todd was using for his absinthe at Leopold's?
I think so.
The base
yes.
spirit. I think he's using a brandy or a Pisco style base for his absinthe, if I remember hearing correctly. So, and that's another category that was brought up. What about absinthe? I think I love absinthe. I am borderline passionate for absinthe right now. I'm using it in a lot of cocktails and just drinking it and really enjoying it. But I still see that as to me, it's still such a niche thing. I don't see it becoming like the next really big thing,
She's more like the sword of Gryffindor, John.
Right.
She can only appear if you're worthy and you're in need.
Yeah. I was saying need, like she used to appear more, not just that you're downgrading. That's dumb.
Yeah.
No, it was just an interesting thought to see where you thought things were going. Because I think obviously single malt and rye is going to be big for a lot longer just because of the ease to use it in cocktails, which people are familiar with. I think the big trend might be in cocktails itself, where people are getting more comfortable with other ingredients.
Right.
I know that sounds dumb, but like in old fashioned, a Manhattan, there's a lot of drinks that are like universal and people will have when you go out, but they're pretty limited in what goes into them. I'm like, even just, even doing the goat Manhattan versus a normal Manhattan with the 50-50 vermouth makes a really big difference. I think it will be in cocktails itself, like people becoming more acclimatized to using different spirits.
Or you make like the 1888 Manhattan, like I did, that uses absinthe, and it's freaking boozy and just fantastic. Really, and so today I was at 6 and 20, dropped in at lunchtime, had a cocktail, talked with the bartender there. And what topic did we get into? Absinthe. And her and her boyfriend are both in the business of bartending, and they're both passionate about absinthe. And we talked about different bars and different places we've been where they've experienced, and that got to be. And it's just like, I think within that scene, I don't know, it may be catching fire more than I realize, but there seems to be more and more people that are like starting to turn that corner with, hey, absinthe. And there's a lot more uses for, and that's what we talked about. There's a lot more uses for it than just looshing or drinking it neat, or however you typically use in cocktails. Is, to me, that's the fun of exploring cocktails, because it's almost endless, like cooking. All the combinations and flavors, it's just endless. The possibilities of what you can do. So,
ooh.
So when are we having a Texas absinthe, Robert Licorice?
No kidding.
I think we have enough Texas whiskey. We might be able to do another Texas whiskey night soon.
I'm doing Deer Hammer Hickory Smoked Corn Whiskey for one, unless someone comes up with another suggestion, but it looks like I'm pouring it anyway. I think it's going to be interesting in the blend.
I'm going to this Chattanooga rye. I just need to grab another glass.
Speaking of which, Lenny from Deer Hammer is going to be on. We're working on it, but Lenny's going to be on
in
September-ish. We got to figure that out. He hasn't picked a date yet.
So we're excited about that one, because that's part of my the Colorado trip. If we head out there, I head out there again. There'll be one of the 3 or 4 places. Yeah. Where's your lineup?
Leopold, 10th Mountain, and Deer Hammer are my top ones.
Nice.
Well, if I were to make it to Stranahan's or 291, that would be fine. But those would be the 3 I will shoot for.
I will be in Colorado again, end of August, 1st September. That part of that road trip, swinging through Texas first, and then I'll be in Kentucky for the first part of that weekend, Railbird Festival, and then I'm swinging down to Texas. We'll visit the guys at Iron Root and may figure out where else I can go. And then I'll be on to Colorado, hopefully to see Todd Leopold and maybe hit a few other places. And then from there, who knows? But should be a fun road trip. So, but yeah, Colorado is calling for sure.
Is it bad that part of me wanted to throw my drink in your face when you described that trip?
I figured as much. It's yeah. This has been like for me. This has been 2 years in the making, trying to get out to Texas to see the licorice guys. So I'm beyond ecstatic that this is finally happening.
Yeah.
So
you'll like it. They're nice people.
I'm sure.
Ooh.
Oh, Renita.
Well, you know what?
See, that's another one that a lot of people haven't experienced or explored. If you love absinthe or you love that licorice note, Aquavit is fantastic.
They are.
Hey, and speaking of Ranger Creek, that's what next time.
Yes.
Next trip in Texas, I'm going down to San Antonio.
That's probably
on my list, up in north and south. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably going to be on there too. I'll be in touch with Josh to see if I can swing through there because that's two places I really want to hit up while I'm in Texas.
That's right, Eli. That's the type of influence we like to have.
Come on, Eli. Join me on the road, man. Come on.
There's got to be a market for a mobile butcher shop,
right?
Yeah. You guys can
not one of those weird people that knock on business doors and say, "Okay, I've got one case of steaks left. I'll make you a deal." Not that guy, but just like a real legitimate mobile butcher shop.
Oh, that's funny. But I saw Kevin and Dave were talking about chartreuse and Hunter S. Thompson. I'm like, that is what he drank. So yes, it was that green stuff. What, like 136 botanicals? That's just insane when you're getting to that level, man. Insane.
Okay, well, when you're blasted out of your mind on psychotics, it doesn't really matter what you're drinking.
It's next level stuff, man.
I don't know if he was blasted out.
Opens that third eye even more.
Yeah.
He wasn't blasted until later on in the evening. He was only on cocaine and shivas.
Exactly. Yeah.
And weed to take the edge off about a half hour into the day.
Piss. Yeah.
No, seriously, guys, I will. If I'm swinging down to San Antonio, which is more than likely, I'll be in touch with all my Texas buddies. You can count on it. So,
yeah, because that's definitely Tuesday night, Ben. You should plan that out. Tuesday night in San Antonio.
I know I want to.
Yeah, I got to figure it out. But yeah,
I just like throwing a little twist in people's plans. That's all.
I want to do that. Josh invited us. Renita invited. Renita runs San Antonio, so we just gotta.
She is the Baroness. She runs a lot of things. She is the
Baroness. Small but mighty.
Very mighty. Very mighty in the whiskey world.
Oh, shit.
This rye is freaking amazing, people.
Which one?
Chattanooga. I'm sitting here going, out of everything I have poured so far, this is the one tonight.
Nice.
Oh, Kevin,
what's your
John?
I think it's a rye you would like, Patrick.
Oh, John Prine's cool. All right,
it is a mustard bottle. It's John Prine, a fan of hot dogs and mustard on hot dogs, and I'm a fan of John Prine. Rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
So you're anti-ketchup on hot dogs?
No, I'm not anti-ketchup, and I will when I go to a baseball game and they do the race between ketchup, mustard, and relish. I always cheer for relish, but if I have a real hot dog, I do mustard on there. Not in honor of John, but I am a fan of John, and that loss of him, man, that's one of those that hurt. That hurt bad.
Could be.
All right, I gotta figure out. Do I do another individual pour, or am I going into the blend here?
I'm going into the blend after
this.
Into the
blend.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then I'm going into my blend, which is It actually smells really nice.
We got any other philosophical whiskey questions?
Wait.
I know we were
No,
talking about
this
one
is-
question each, but
Sorry, this sounds delicious to me. Jalapeno jelly.
Oh yeah,
Mustard,
Oh,
that
God,
sounds.
yes.
Oh,
yes, absolutely. I like a nice spicy mustard on there, and I didn't eat hot dogs for a really long time because they're gross. I mean,
right, John.
let's say lips and assholes, you
Lips
know.
and assholes.
But-
There you go. Great outdoors.
But it was my wife who was like, she goes, you should have a really good kosher dog, and I would not do it and wouldn't do it. And then when Costco opened in Kansas City here, first one opened here, we went. It was like, oh, let's all beef. We'll try it, and I was like, oh, this is a good freaking hot dog. And from then on, so it's like if I get a chance for a real one, I'll have it. I'm down with that. But yeah, none of that Oscar Mayer oily shit for me. I'm not touching that.
No, I'm a, I don't know. I don't like around. Well, everything is local, so every region, every place has its different way of doing hot dogs or things like that. So around here, it's typically you're going to get it with chili and you're going to get it with ketchup, unless you say otherwise. Throw on some hot sauce and onions for me, I'm good to go. But I will take a hot dog any way you want to serve it up. Slap some relish, slap some sauerkraut, whatever, mustard, whatever you want to put on it, bring it on. I'm just all opportunity hot dog destroyer right here. So
sounds like
Okay,
you're closer to the Atlanta hot dog.
What about your style of hot dog? Are you don't care, or you're going for all beef, good old kosher dog?
style, honestly, I don't care.
Would you eat an Oscar Mayer hot dog?
I mean, if you were to put,
would you eat an Oscar Mayer hot dog?
If I didn't know
if it was
an
right
Oscar
there in
Mayer hot
front,
dog.
if it was right there in front of me and there was no other choice, yeah, sure, I'll eat Oscar Mayer. I don't give a crap. But if I'm
You'll
sitting
eat
there and you
that
got
Oscar
a
Mayer
choice
hot
of,
dog that's going to sweat in the bun just sitting there like a fat kid at a park.
it just slides down all the easier, Mike.
That's right. You don't even have to chew it because it just slides down your throat naturally.
Slides in and slides out all the easier.
Exactly. Stays whole.
Eli, you know what the hell I'm talking about, brother. Skins. That's the hot dog place around here. Slaw and hot sauce. Bring it on, man.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I'm not against ketchup, but there's a part like you start branching out, you just start throwing other stuff on, and you don't believe it. And you're like, damn, that is actually tasty. I do prefer an all beef hot dog. I mean,
Sure.
Oh, how about this? I'll even take a chicken hot dog, so whatever the fuck that is, but I'll eat that too because I like chicken. But
Can't help.
I do not want. It's like why I didn't work in a restaurant. I just don't want to think about what the fuck I'm eating or how I got there, because once sometimes you don't want to eat it. So I just try to block out what I'm thinking about when I'm eating a hot dog.
I don't care. How about the white dogs?
Just
The
put 'em
white
down.
the white wieners with the chicken and the egg white and everything. Have you seen? You know what I'm talking about? Some of you that are in
No.
like a German area with German immigrants, you're going to know what I'm talking about. But I
We
experienced
should've
those for the
just
first time in
had
Germany,
Wiener night.
and they're freaking
We should have had
fantastic.
Wiener night, man, because this is like all over. Home Depot. I've
No,
seen the
it's
people
it's chicken and
lined up
veal
for those
and
Home
egg
Depot
white.
dogs, man.
Yeah.
I've seen
And
them. I haven't had them. You're getting on a case
Kent-
of a brat or something weird.
Kent,
grilled or
when
broiled?
they do buck
Any
night,
kind of sausage.
they still
man,
have those cheap ass hot dogs for a buck,
Do they?
right.
and it's like, oh yeah,
Oh.
they have buck. It's buck night. I think it's
Mhm.
dollar. Now it's just dollar peanuts and dollar hot dogs.
Dollar peanuts. That's right.
Oh, damn it. That's not what I wanted to put up there.
Well, Costco.
Thank you for your wit and humor, Emily, as always.
Yes.
Grilled or boiled? Grilled. How about this? I'm boiled in beer and then grilled. Just a little.
For brats,
get a little
yes.
sear mark on the brats. Yeah, just get some.
For brats,
I
yes.
I need some sear on a brat for sure.
Yeah.
Right, we're talking
Brat,
about all type of
yeah.
sausages now. We're going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say brats for me are in more of a sausage category, so that for sure is grilled. Hot dogs, I'll take them grilled, but boiled in beer, I think that's the go-to.
This is like the discussion in Superbad. It's like, you know how many of the foods are shaped like dicks? All the good ones.
Eli's got a good
Don't make me spit this right.
some Snake River Wagyu hot dog. Damn.
I did have a Wagyu beef corn dog
Hold on.
last week at a restaurant,
Yeah.
and that was fucking epic.
But what? Okay, what did they do for the corn? Was it just standard cornmeal, or did they do something different with the corn?
No, it was. I'm
Oh,
trying to remember the breading right. It was like a typical cornmeal breading, but they had it deep fried, and it was amazing.
oh, okay. Look at Adina's thing. Can someone put that up? Because I'm looking at the menu right now. Oh, that's where is it? I'm going back here.
A what?
Look this up. Look up Japa Dog. It's in Canada, and it's a whole nother reason to go to Canada. This is
Hey, the border's officially open.
Is it?
August
Because
9th.
I'm just telling you, man. That I would go there a couple times a week just to knock out some of that menu. It's got like a Korean kind of flair and some other stuff on it. They got all sorts of different cool dogs, man. Woo.
I'd go to Canada once a week just for poutine.
Corn dogs.
Now that it's open, I will be going up there.
So many trips. So many trips. Do you want
Okay, this blend is nice.
Lord have mercy.
what?
This would be the place I'm hitting up. I would be hitting up once a week just to try. Each week would be trying a different one.
Exactly.
Because
You see
that's how
that
I am
menu?
with restaurants. Yeah.
Stop in for lunch. You can have one or two and try to go through it. The yakisoba
Okay,
or those noodles.
except for the age ice, because this is deep fried bun filled with ice cream. No, I'm not eating. I'm not eating ice cream on a bun. I'm here for a damn hot dog.
Okay.
I want the meat. Give me the meat, man.
But there's got to be a great flavor
Ooh.
going on with that.
I'm sure there is.
I'm sure that's a good
A
dessert.
shrimpy
All
chili.
right, but I'm in the mood for we're talking hot dogs. I'm going. I need freaking dinner, right? I need some protein.
Thank you, Emily. She's linked it
That
up out
looks
there. Thank you.
looks amazing.
Yeah, it's one of those things like you stop to have hot dogs. Yeah, I go there at once a week. Try some stuff out. It'd be outstanding.
All right, so how's your blends going?
We're good. I'm pouring some condensed and some stuff.
All right, time to get
feel
into it.
So I've got two. I got two Miradors of Balcones, Chattanooga Tequila.
I didn't even go that far. All I saw was it was ice cream on a hot dog bun, and I'm here for the hot dogs, not your damn dessert. So
Maybe it is ice cream flavored.
It's made with hot dog water.
it's hot dog water and ice. Exactly. Is there a chocolate starfish to go with it?
Okay, that brings up this year the first we watched the hot dog eating contest for the first time live. I've seen highlights, but not really paid
Okay.
attention. We made a point to watch it live. That is freaking gross. It was. I mean, they tried to make the most of it by how they announced everybody out and made up all these elaborate stories and everything. But watching them do that and just dip it in there and just constantly shoving that shit in their mouth, it's like, this is gross. This is actually, I'm not squeamish about it, but I'm like, that's just gross. I mean, just thinking of the wet bread and they're just dunking it and just shoving it down their throat. Anyway,
You can get flavored stuff. You can get like a Fanta, some orange soda, a little grape soda.
you think they're dipping those hot dogs in Fanta or Elf Grape Pop and then go out so they got a different flavor?
No, it's just that'd be lead to
Yeah.
gas in their stomach. That's too many bubbles.
Or milk. Maybe they're dipping it in milk.
Oh no, there's no way. Has anyone in the group ever done the gallon milk challenge?
You can't.
That's what I was gonna say. Don't do it. That's not a good thing.
Life
You can't-
tips from Patrick tonight, folks.
You cannot drink a gallon of milk in an hour and have it not go poorly for you. I've seen it happen. I thought someone was going to do it. I thought they were going to be triumphant, and it turned into like a projectile sprinkler reenactment.
Oh God,
It was disturbing.
that's a vision. That's a vision right there.
Upper or lower sprinkler?
Oh, it started lower and kind of went.
Okay.
It's like this arcing motion of things. You just had to get to the other side of the fence quick enough.
Oh God.
Sad thing is, someone thought they could do it. The same person thought they could do it a different time. They thought they were like bested by the milk, and they tried to beat it again. Oh.
So how's your blend, Mike?
I was just thinking about that. It is. I think that the peated is bringing it down with the ashiness from that West Cork peated.
Okay.
It doesn't drink it doesn't drink as what the sum of the proof should be, considering what was in there. There was 3-4 barrel proof whiskeys in it. It's enjoyable, but it's flat.
Okay.
Or it's flatter than it should be, but it's fine. It's not the best blend. It's not like I forget what that last. God, what was the one we just had that was really good? That was last week.
Yeah, that would be last week.
We've had several, but last week was pretty good.
Yeah, last week's blend was freaking phenomenal. This one for me is really damn good. So it's the Limestone Experimental, the Red Wheat Bourbon, the Jimmy Red Bourbon from Highwire, and the Peach Brandy Cask, the Wilderness Trail 6-year-old straight bourbon, the French Lick William Dalton Wheated Bourbon single barrel with the French oak staves, and then the Chattanooga whiskey, the malted rye. The rye kind of takes over a little bit. The floral notes, it's a candied, and when I say floral, it's like a candied violet note is what I get predominantly off this. I love that note in a whiskey. I get that out of a lot of Ardbegs. I love that note in this rye. But that kind of takes over, and it almost feels very malt centric, if you will, on this one, which is interesting. Out of all, you got 2 wheat whiskeys, you got a 100% corn Jimmy Red, and you've got the Wilderness Trail bourbon, and then this Chattanooga rye. But I feel like the rye kind of dominates, but all the other flavors, it all works together. It's a fantastic blend. I'd be happy sipping on this the rest of the night. So
sorry, just Emily's last comment threw me off. I don't know what she's talking about, but that's our wrench.
I think she's talking about you guys dipping the hot dogs, getting the buns wet, lubing them to go down.
Oh, that is what they're doing.
Yeah.
No, my blend was okay. It wasn't that great. I wasn't happy. We did malts, Mike. It was the Bull Run.
I just put on there Bull Run, Gully Town, and Stranahan's.
Yeah,
that was a good blend. That was actually you didn't do it, Ben, but I'd catch up and do it. That was worth it. That actually was one of the nice. Last week we did Bull Run single malt,
right?
Gully Town, and Stranahan's Diamond Peak. It was a nice blend.
The blend was really nice.
All right.
Like it bumped up the missing parts of the Diamond Peak, in my opinion. Though Diamond Peak in itself was really nice. You know what I mean? Like it just added that extra kick to it.
It was a bourbon drinker's malt whiskey. What did you guys think of that Diamond Peak? I did, because I have the bottle. That's what I say. I think it was a bourbon drinker's malt whiskey. Yeah, it leaned more towards bourbon. I liked it. It was very enjoyable. It wasn't as clearly as malty as the others, but it was good. But the three of them together, they really brought each other up quite a bit. Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was nice. I was happy that Mike said it. I wouldn't have guessed it was a malt right away if you were just having it. Right. But it was very pleasant to drink. You know, not that's pretty rounded. Yeah. It was very enjoyable to sit down with and have a drink of it. Okay. What? All right, night, Kevin. We'll see you later. But I went back to the Bull Run on this just to have a little extra jump in here. Yeah. But I don't know. Are you guys good with where we're at for this evening? You wanna jump out, or you want to stay on for a bit longer?
I'm fine.
I don't have to go to work tomorrow, so I'm
Holy
down
shit.
for whatever.
Hey, I will say we did a recipe thing last night. My daughter and I talked about this, and she made them while I was talking on the group with Todd. It's basically Toll House, but it's my version of Toll House, my cookie recipe. But instead of you doing chocolate chips or any of the other stuff we put in there, she put a single Rolo on each dough ball and baked them. And so I had it when we got done talking with Todd. It was roundly praised by everybody in the house.
How many did you kill, fat boy?
Dude, I think I had like 3 last night. I took 3 with me to work. There better be some when I get back upstairs, because I said, but everyone's like, we're doing the Rolos again. It was the way that it melted down and the caramel spread out within there. Oh God, it was so good.
That sounds beautiful.
You're killing me.
Oh, it was delicious. It was delicious.
All right, I'm off to find some candy, folks.
Can always find candy.
There's so many things I could say right now.
All right. Wait, what's next week? What the hell is
next week? Is Old Time Spirits.
Old Time Spirits is next week, and then the Steves after that, the 23rd. Are they the 30th? The Steves?
30th.
Steves are the 30th. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds good. To keep an eye out for next week. Otherwise, we'll see it. We'll see you then. I don't know. I'm tired. I need to have it. I'm just gonna drink this. I'm ready. All right. Let's do one more. Come on, folks.
One more. Cannonball.
Cannonball coming.
Oh, another one in here. Come on.
Right,
hold on. Oh, no, not even a cannonball. A little pull.
We just
a little pull to end the show.
That's it. We just need a bottle pull right here. Let me grab something just off the floor.
Yeah.
Redbreast 12. Here you go. Bottle pull. Let's go. Cannonball coming. Come on.
Knob Creek single barrel.
There you
go. All right. Well, get it open, Mike. God damn.
I'm gonna put a little knob in my mouth.
Leads to a Clerks 2 question.
For a little redbreast in mine, but
ready?
Cheers.
Tasty.
That's all nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right.
I think it's a great way to end the show from now on, guys.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
We should do a bottle pull.
I think I can handle that switch up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we should do all the tastings from now on. Don't pour them in.
The hell with these Glencairns.
Get the smell in here like this. Like, hold on, I'm having a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
I am getting confectionery notes.
Look, I love all whiskey. I like all types, and I know we do a lot of stuff on craft whiskey, but man, those Knob Creek single barrels, damn, those are good.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was an open nose.
Patrick, that almost looks too easy for
Suspicious?
you. I was getting the full power of the.
You look well practiced.
I don't know. Okay. Now we're actually gonna leave the show. So one more bottle pull, and that goes for everyone at home too.
Bless America.
Fine. You're an enabler, Patrick.
You are.
I don't know if I'm
How about some Peerless single barrel?
I don't know if enabler is right. I'm just a bad influence. I've always had that moniker. There's been plenty of parents who have.
Come on, just grab something, Mike.
Who have been confined
grab
my presence. A little cast
Wilderness
strength.
Trail single barrel.
A little limo cast strength. I'm going to end the show on. Just Tim, I'm sorry I didn't see that. It's not canned though. It's bottled. You know it's fresh when you can do the. Ooh.
He just normally has a towel over his head.
Right. Crocodile Dundee style.
That's right.
Remember that?
Yeah. Here, look at it. Just dump it all in there.
Right.
Mike, you look way too serious. What happened?
No, I was just giving us because I got for some reason I got an interesting smell and I was trying to figure out.
I bet you did.
It's probably me.
It's the upper lip.
All right. Are we doing okay?
No,
I'm waiting on you guys, man.
Yeah,
I don't need to spit this all over my Mac. Come on.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, everyone out there. We'll see you on Monday night, if not beforehand.
Cheers.
All right. Good night.
Cheers.